bets, player props, spreads, totals, everything in between. We have narrowed down our cards to our favorite plays, and we are excited to dive into them shortly. Before we do, I do want to say, if you have not signed up at BetMGM and you are a new user, you want to listen to this and take advantage. New users, deposit $10 or more using the link in the description of this video. You're going to get a risk-free bet of up to $1,000.
Wow.
In addition, we're giving you 3 free months of Awesemo Plus Platinum. What does that mean? It's going to cover you for all sports on the betting and DFS side, all the tools that Alex and the entire team use day after day. You're going to get that for 3 free months, so no reason to not take advantage of that. All right, Eitan, I've looked at the card. It's been a while.
I'm sure you have.
I damn right I have. I've narrowed it down, and I've got a couple hold your nose, my favorite kind of plays. Bad teams, but I don't really care. I'm going to get things started with one of them, and then I want to see where you're going because we have not talked about this yet. This is 2 bad teams, and I'm taking the lesser of the bad ones. I'm going to the Dolphins. I know it feels a little public. 3-point favorites on the road against the Jets. I don't believe in Joe Flacco whatsoever. He is a straight statue back there. I declared Miami the worst team in the league a couple weeks ago, and that may have been wrong. They've looked, I guess they heard me because they've looked a lot better in recent weeks. They are coming off what I think, most people would call a very, very impressive win against Baltimore. They get the long week. They played on Thursday and whatnot. The quarterback, the roulette of what's going on is to his finger. Okay, well, it couldn't have been that bad because he was forced into relief in that game, and they were able to get it done. They still have Waddle on the outside. And what is there to say about the Jets defense right now? They have just been, bludgeon doesn't even put it. It's just a disgrace right now. They cannot stop anyone. They're giving up 8 yards per pass attempt. That's 31st in the league. If that wasn't bad enough, in the last 3 games, that's ballooned to 9.7 yards per pass attempt.
Wow.
That's beyond worst in the league. They are just not doing anything. And again, I'm going to reference it on the rushing side. Not that Miami's a run-heavy team. Jets are allowing 4.7 yards per carry. That's very bad. 29th in the league. In the last 3 weeks, it's up to 6.3 yards per carry. That is dead last in the league by a mile. It's hard for me to go anywhere else. I'm going to get my card started. Dolphins -3.
I'm surprised you didn't go over that total as many points as the Jets defense gives up. But that's a great play, especially because the hook seems to have been removed in a lot of places. I think people were concerned about laying that hook in a divisional game. Good place to start, man. I'm going to take it a different way and go player prop here for a guy that I've seen play consistent and really, especially over the last couple of weeks, insanely, dare I use that term, well here. We don't know the status of a tight end coming into this game as well. We do know that the New Orleans Saints rush defense is the best in the league. Guess what? They're not that great against the pass. Welcome back. It is the Yahoo version, the extended deeper dive here, courtesy of Yahoo. We have you covered for the rest of the night. Don't worry, the extended deeper dive comes your way then live before lock. But now, myself, more importantly, Matt, here to look at this Yahoo slate, this short 6-game slate tonight. My squad in effect, so I'm sure there's going to be a conversation or two about just how bad things have been for the Sixers. But more importantly, we've got some other value, some bigger value on the board there, my friend Matt. Always a pleasure. Jordan is producing. We'll tell you all about Yahoo. Life's good for you, though? Any complaints? We're here for
Life's
you.
not bad, man. Just got back from vacation. Unfortunately, I did get sick at the start of my vacation, which is always the worst. But I came around in time that I took full advantage of my time off. And yeah, I'm back to the grind, ready to go. So let's dive right in.
I love it, man. I love it. Fresh off vacation, Matt LaMarca in the house. You know you are poised and ready to go here. Rested as well. All right, let's look at the overall. And again, we have 6 games. I feel like with these Tuesday, Thursday slates, clearly, and especially on the Yahoo Deeper Dive that we do, rare that we have a jam-packed slate. So it's kind of similar to what we've been talking about. But for those who are new or maybe just straggling in now, wanting to see what Yahoo's all about, just about your strategy itself, Matt, looking specifically tonight, but really on that mid to shorter slate games that we have.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Yahoo that's exploitable, I guess, is their value plays are always very strong. You know, like you can find very good options at the minimum or just a buck or two more than the minimum at most positions, which is something that you really can't do on some of the other sites. So in my eyes, it really is sort of made for a stars and scrubs approach. On nights where you have some value to choose from, I would say that tonight qualifies. That becomes even more of the preferred strategy. So, you know, some of the injuries that we're looking at here, you've got some guys questionable for the Clippers. No superstars really, you know, that are like we're waiting for their status at the moment. But there's a lot of like smaller things that matter. So you've got Batum and Terrence Mann. They might not suit up for the Clippers. You've got on the Nuggets side, Will Barton. He was initially doubtful, now upgraded to questionable. We've got, you know, your usual assortment of 76ers to look at. The Cavaliers right now are banged up. So there's a bunch of spots that we could potentially take advantage of here. Spencer Dinwiddie also out for the Wizards. So there's value to be had. I think Eitan got muted.
That's my fault. I apologize. Yes, and Jared Allen, as I was throwing in there at the end there. So the good news, as you mentioned, is that we're really not waiting. Like, you know, Steph Curry is probable. He's going to play tonight. And anybody, Bam, same way, you know, he's going to play tonight. So it helps a little bit, I think, now at this stage of building lineups with you, Matt, to know that there isn't really like a superstar, if you will, that we're waiting. Like Embiid's out. We knew he was out. So let's jump into it. Let's start at the point guard spot. You mentioned stars and scrubs, and I'm always interested to see which position you apply the star, which position you apply the scrub here. Steph's right there at the top, and then you have Ja Morant, and then it gets a little bit of a dip, and Dinwiddie out as well, but not difficult to find some value, I think, in that $20 range. But I'm curious, where do you begin at the point tonight?
Yeah, I mean, you can make a case that DeJounte is underpriced at 39. We have him projected right now for about 20% ownership. I'd like to be overweight on that. This game between the Spurs and the Timberwolves stands out as one of the best of the day. You know, one of the major trends of the year has just been the lack of scoring, basically across the board. And you see that reflected in some of the totals tonight. You know, last year we routinely had totals that were 230 plus, 240 plus even. Tonight, the top total is 220.5. There are 3 games that are under 210. Like it's just hard to find scoring these days. So this game between the Grizzlies, between the Grizzlies and the Clippers are tops on the slate. Spurs Timberwolves is second. So I think Murray, he's still underpriced at 39. He's been pretty good on a per minute basis, 1.33 Yahoo points per minute. So I think you can go there, but the guys that really start to pique my interest, like you said, are in this mid-20s type range.
Yeah, so let's look at that. But I am curious, before we jump into the Lowry and below, if you will, maybe Van Vliet at 30 makes the cut. But is there that big of a difference from cost, even paying up, from Morant to Murray, where you mentioned the value where Murray is still a little underpriced, but compared to Morant, it's really $3. So it's not necessarily, I would think on the surface, Matt, a major deterrent to stay away from Morant, where if like Murray was $30, now you're saving 12. Does that make sense?
Yes. I think I have Murray projected for more fantasy points tonight. So, they're pretty equivalent on a per minute basis, but Murray is playing a lot more minutes at the moment. He's logged 38 plus in his past 2 games. So that's a ton of playing time right there. We know that Murray is capable of stuffing the stat sheet. He had a triple-double 2 nights ago. He was 1 assist shy of a triple-double in his last game. So I just think the combination of per minute efficiency and the sheer volume of minutes, like I have him projected for the second most points behind only Curry.
Well, at the point spot, not across the slate.
Yes, at point.
Right. Just wanted to make sure. All right, so let's look at that mid-range here, and we'll move on to the 2 in a minute. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button as you're coming in right now and subscribe, please. Make sure you're subscribed. We have the DFS channel, the odds channel, and the season-long fantasy football channel. Theo, I'm still here. I don't know what you're talking about. I do radio all the time in Philly. All right, so let's look at – and here's another thing, too. I'm now stuck like poor Matt. The chat now assumes that every time I'm doing a show with Matt, it's because the Sixers are on. And Matt's probably getting like this stigma from everybody else, like, oh, shit, here we go. Sixers Central. I say this, of course, leading into Maxey as a guy who may be appealing here for you and others in that mid-20 range. The only thing that we're starting to see with this team, and Maxey actually was affected by it last time out against the Jazz as well, is those minutes disappear fast if they're getting blown out. And they're in Denver tonight. They're still banged up. That blowout factor, I think, has maybe a deterrent for me to where I'd like to go somewhere else, and I know you're going to lead me.
Yeah, I agree that we don't need Maxey tonight. Like in a vacuum, he's probably pretty fairly priced, but he's the same as D'Angelo Russell, who I like a lot more. He's $1 more than Ricky Rubio. I like Rubio more. So I think that we don't need to go with Maxey. That game really scares me. You've got 2 teams that play at the 2 slowest paces in the league, squaring off against each other. I just mentioned scoring is down. Scoring could be way down in this game. This could be like a 90s throwback, 99-87 type of game. So I'm not really looking to load up on either side, despite the fact that we've got some injury value with both teams. I think that game's going to be a little bit gross. So I would rather go with Russell. Russell's been kind of my guy. He started to turn things on of late, but I still think he has upside for more, right? He's shooting less than 25% from 3. He's shooting, less than 40% from the field over this stretch that he's put together recently, but he's still finished with 39, 36, 35, 37. Like on the night when he does make a bunch of shots, which is going to happen. I know that D'Angelo Russell's not a dead eye, but he is a professional basketball player. He's going to make shots eventually. He can go for 50, which he's shown us, in earlier this year against the Grizzlies, he went for 50. So I think he is underpriced. And again, Ricky Rubio is certainly fine too, if you're looking to, take advantage of all this Cleveland value.
Real quick on the way out, because we found a lot of value in that mid-20 range, and you mentioned Murray as well. What about really Patrick Beverley, maybe at that $14 if you're looking to, I hate the term scrub it here, but if you're not looking to pay up, right? Patrick Beverley, $14 where you can save your money elsewhere, appealing to you?
100%. Love Patrick Beverley tonight. He's too cheap considering the amount of minutes that he's been playing. He's up over 30 minutes a night here. And he's just under a fantasy point per minute type of guy. So again, Spurs, Timberwolves, that's a game that I want plenty of exposure to on this 6-game slate. I think Beverly is a great way to do it, across the industry, but on Yahoo for sure at $14.
So 2 guard here, Anthony Edwards right there at $33. I'll keep your theme going with this game specifically at Minnesota there. Not the highest guy by any means. You do have Beal and Spider up top, but as far as the game flow, the game itself, and the guy who stands at the very least more than most, if not anybody, to benefit from a higher scoring game, I'm guessing that you're going to get to a lot of Anthony Edwards tonight.
Yeah, I don't know if this is a position where I really want to pay up that much. If I do, it might be Bradley Beal, if I'm being honest, at 37.
Yeah.
I just think that Bradley Beal is a guy that we would have expected to be priced much higher than 37 at this point in the season, but he's had some down games. He's missed some games. I still think that Beal is poised for a big year. And I'm not necessarily looking to target the Miami Heat, but I do think that this is a price tag that we can target. So, would I rather pay 37 for Beal or 33 for Edwards? I'm probably taking Beal with the extra $4.
Okay. Is there another, looking at it here, we've got a couple of guys that are just going to, you mentioned Barton. Hero is another one, though. But again, he's playing through this wrist injury. So I don't know. Looks like he'll play, right? But I don't know if the injury itself was a deterrent or just the slate that maybe you would move away from a Hero or somebody else in that higher end. You mentioned Anthony Edwards as opposed to Beal. Now, Hero, you're saving a little bit, $10 difference on Beal, $6 difference on Edwards. I don't know if that makes that much difference for you, but we also have the injury factor we're dealing with.
Yeah, this kind of just feels like no man's land, this 25 to, dollar price tag range. Like it feels like you're either going to spend up, you're going to grab one of Beal or Edwards, or you're going to go down and you're going to take a value option. So, there might be some merit to trying to get contrarian with one of those guys. But again, I don't think that either of those matchups stands out as one that I'm like looking to target. This Heat Wizards game is the lowest total on the slate, although it has risen a bit since the start of the day. But still, like, I think that shooting guard is a great spot to go value tonight.
Is there any value? And it's not total value. This is not punt by any means, but the last two games, we've definitely seen an uptick in production, in fantasy points, even with lesser minutes, the most recent game. But again, that was a blowout against the Sixers. Jordan Clarkson couldn't hit the broadside of the barn to start the season. 2 games in a row of quality performance, even with lower minutes. I mean, 29 points 29 fantasy points in just under 22 minutes against the Sixers in a blowout. $18. You're not spending up a ton. And if I'm spending that range, I'd much rather take Clarkson than Korkmaz or Curry, right?
I will pass on Clarkson. That last game, major outlier performance, right? Usage rate almost 44%. And he shot the ball, decently well. So Clarkson's like the type of guy that I'm really only looking to play him when one of Mitchell and or Conley are out.
Got it.
So I do think I prefer Curry at 15. I know Curry's coming off a terrible game, but he still has that extra scoring upside baked in with Embiid. But I think we can go even cheaper. We can go down to a Terrence Mann if he's active. We could look at Malik Beasley at 11. We could even go down to an Aaron Holiday at 10 with Spencer Dinwiddie out of the lineup. So I think that there are some ways to save even more if that's what you'd like to do.
All right, let's look at the 3 spot here. A couple of big names as well. We know as far as the slate itself, OG still out. So you're dealing with Butler and George as far as the top 2 guys. And then look, on Yahoo, there is a significant difference. I mean, you're talking about a full $19 difference between Jimmy Butler, who is the second highest guy at $43, and then Andrew Wiggins, who jumps in at 24. So if we look, and then look, the next couple of guys banged up, dealing with injury. It's almost like if you're not taking George or Butler tonight, or if you're not getting high exposure to those 2 guys at the top, you're pretty much relegated to being in the middle, if not a punt on this position, Matt.
Yep, you said it. And I think for that reason, a lot of people are going to opt for one of those 2. I really like Paul George. I think that, again, this game between the Clippers and the Grizzlies is probably one of the best that we have to target tonight. And George is just on pace for a career year. He's posted a career high in usage, which is not all that surprising without Kawhi Leonard. His assist rate is up compared to last year. His rebound rate is up compared to last year. So he's been really good. the fact that he's only 47, I think is kind of underselling him a little bit. You know, if you look at some of the other prices across the industry, he's priced up way higher, you know, in comparison to some of his counterparts. So I think that George, we've got him projected for about 25% ownership. I think that we want to be overweight on that.
Is there anybody? So if you're overweight to George, does it automatically make you staying away, maybe even underweight to Butler? Or are you approaching tonight's slate where you're working those two guys as much as you can?
Yeah, I think you can be overweight to both. I don't have as much interest in Butler. He's not grading out as favorably in our projections, but if you look, we have Butler projected for about 15% ownership and George at 25. It's not all that hard to be overweight on both if that's what you choose to. I'm focusing more of my attention on PG, but like if you wanted to sort of diversify a little bit and attack both guys, definitely viable.
There's really only one guy in the 20s, and that's Wiggins. Do you anticipate getting much to him?
Not really. I'm just not an Andrew Wiggins guy. He can definitely play well at times,
right?
But he doesn't do enough for me. You know, he's become a little bit more diversified. I give him some credit for that. He's hitting the boards a little bit at times this season, but guys who are so scoring dependent really scare me in DFS because if they have an off shooting night, they're going to bust. And Wiggins hasn't had a lot of those recently. He's been, 7 for 11, 12 for 19, 14 for 19. So he's due. I think he's due for some shooting regression.
Okay.
So I'm a little scared of him.
No problem. And look, I think a lot of people would, if you can't see them, are nodding in agreement right now. Like, yeah, you know what, LaMarca, you're on to something here. If I don't have to roster Wiggins, then I'm not going to. Let's look at some cheaper options here at the 3. We'll move to the 4, round out the 5 before the extended deeper dive with Josh and Adam comes your way. And make sure you're not only following along, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel as well. Adam Share, his deeper dive is free for you each and every day. So take advantage. We have Matt here giving you insight on Yahoo. Fellas will be up at the top of the hour for the extended deeper dive. And we have content on site for you to take advantage of the entire time. I keep going back to the Spurs and Wolves game, as far as maybe Vassell or somebody along those lines where you can get a cheaper option for productivity. Really, if you look at it for Yahoo, he might be, as far as cost and fantasy points per game, one of the better bangs for your bucks. Again, I'm using your game here as far as a standard to look at this spot.
I think that the difference in minutes though between him and Isaac Okoro pushes me to Okoro, right? Okoro is coming off 39 minutes in his last game, and that was with all the usual guys, all the same guys that are out tonight out of the lineup for the Cavaliers. So it's just hard to turn your nose up at nearly 40 minutes of playing time with a guy who is priced essentially at the minimum.
Fair enough. And you're going to need minutes, I think, for either of these guys for it to work out. And it's the same cost. So $11 across the board. All right. We've been saving some money here. Look around now. The 4 spot, it's not enticing as far as spending up is concerned. You've got Tobias Harris right there at the top, Draymond, Scotty, and then you start to get to that lower $20 range. So how do you approach the 4 tonight, where, again, I feel like we've had this similar conversation with other positions, right? Mainly the 2 guard here, or the point, pardon me, where it's a dip, absolutely a dip. So, oh no, that was a 3. I apologize, with Butler and George. Similar situation here, except the highest guy is Tobias Harris. I don't necessarily know if you like Tobias tonight, especially because there are cheaper options on the board.
Yeah, it's I do think Tobias is probably a bit underpriced in general. And we do have him projected as the highest owned guy, but I'm looking at Scotty Barnes at 26. I think that Scotty Barnes is going to be a very nice value tonight at $26, and I think he's flying a little under the radar as well. You look at this Raptors team, they are just kind of decimated right now. No OG Anunoby, who is going to be out for a while, whatever that means, the very scientific explanation of a while. No Precious Achua. And Barnes is somebody who is already playing 30 minutes a night. Now, what's he going to do with those guys out of the lineup? So, again, matchup versus Utah, not ideal. This is not a game that I want a ton of exposure to, but I do think that Barnes at $26, like, it's just too cheap of a price tag for him.
Is it more just a matter? I guess it's a combination of both, right? You mentioned Harris being the projected highest owned guy here. So just the automatic pivot to ownership presents Barnes as an opportunity. Are you looking at anybody cheaper that you can still get to on a decent clip because look, Scotty Barnes is not breaking your bank at $26 tonight, especially as we've been fiscally, I think, responsible throughout building this lineup. Exactly.
I just got back from Vegas. I have to be fiscally responsible.
You get back from Vegas, you have to be fiscally responsible. I need a new washer. I have to be fiscally responsible. Life is going to come at you fast, my brother. Just watch and wait and see. So where to begin here? I mean, I can't even believe Thad Young is still in the league doing things. $20 for Thad. You start to get a little bit lower. You know, again, the Sixers, for the most part, could be out. George Niang, $11 doesn't have that appeal, I think, anymore. What about Royce O'Neal at $11? Any interest there?
Royce O'Neal at 11 is fine on a slate where we don't have like a ton of obvious value choices, but we've got Jeff Green at $10. He should play a ton of minutes for the Nuggets. You've got Otto Porter at $10. He should get a boost with no Andre Iguodala. You've got Dean Wade at $10. You know, Dean Wade is not exciting, but he played 37 and a half minutes in their last game. So I would feel better about those three guys than I would about Royce O'Neal on this slate. And I do think that, you know, paying down is definitely a viable strategy at this position.
So it's really just Scotty Barnes or paying down, right? Is there anybody?
And I'll throw Jaren Jackson into the mix as well. I like Jaren Jackson quite a bit too at 23. Again, one of those games that I like, Clippers, Grizzlies. We know Jaren Jackson Jr. is a talented kid and, you know, capable of filling up the stat sheet. So he's somebody that I'll have as well, but it's going to be a lot of Scotty, some Jaren, and then a lot of punts.
All right. And then as far as punts, we mentioned Wade and some guys there at the bottom for sure. Jeff Green as well. So let's hit, as we always do, we wind down, with the centers. Keep going back. I can't get that stat, that number, just how productive Jokic is, as you brought up a couple of shows ago without Michael Porter. But you also don't have Embiid here, which changes things. Cat right there at the top. No longer can you slide Andre Drummond under the radar here and get him for $15 on the Yahoo slate. He's right up there at the top. But I don't know, and let's start there. Does Drummond still have that same appeal because his cost has shot up so much without Embiid on the floor?
Definitely not the same appeal. His minutes, too, have been kind of trending down. You know, he was a guy that was playing, you know, mid to upper 30s without Embiid. Now it's more lower 30s. And he still has, you know, big upside. I don't want to diminish his upside, but it's very hard for me not to pay for Jokic on this slate, right? Like, he's 54. If Barton ends up sitting, Jokic is up over 1.9 fantasy points per minute.
Amazing. It's amazing. Isn't that amazing?
I told you I was getting sick.
No, it's fine, brother. I got you. If you need to go through, I can kill a minute here. But no, it's amazing to see that. You're right.
Yeah. So he's doing everything, right? He's having arguably a better season than he had last year when he won the MVP. So the 76ers defense, not nearly as strong with Drummond on the court in place of Embiid. They're allowing 6 additional points per 100 possessions. So even though I do think that this game is going to be kind of ugly, it's not a game that I have a ton of interest in. You kind of just have to play Jokic. You know, right now we have him projected for 25% ownership. I can tell you I will be much higher than that, probably closer to 50%.
I love this. Ben on the chat, Jokic triple-double, Nuggets to win. You get plus 500. That might be worth a little sprinkle there, dominating that Sixers front court. Is there a reasonable pivot that you can make? You know, I look at Bam right now. I think the injury may scare some people away, but he's clearly playing. There's no issue there. He's dominated at times. The matchup as well. $35 for Bam. Any interest? As a pivot to Jokic, as a pivot, not a header.
I think I'd rather pivot to Towns at 44. Again, just a game environment that I like better. I think Bam is incredibly talented, but coming off 2 straight missed games, there might be some easing him back into the rotation type of stuff going on. So Towns, we know that he is just super talented, hasn't had the best start to his season, but we know the guy can score the ball, can rebound the ball, do all the stuff that we're looking for in fantasy. I would rather go there, but again, to me, this is a pretty simple night. You just eat the chalk with Jokic until they start getting some of their guys back. You can't make Jokic high enough for me to not play him.
I love it. It's a nice, easy, simple way to end the show. Roll with the chalk. Eat the chalk with Jokic. Spend the 54. Win some money. Tweet Matt LaMarca. Thank him for that on the Yahoo slate. Take advantage of what we have as well here with Yahoo. It's really easy. Click those links below. We'll give you $10 free to play with. And then if you're new to Yahoo, when you sign up, we're going to give you 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Again, at Matt LaMarca, at Shander Show for me. Jordan is producing. He isn't going anywhere like you out there ain't going anywhere. Why? Because Josh and Adam come your way right now with the full deeper dive. Appreciate everybody hanging with us. Matt, good to have you back from vacation. Although I'm sure
Jordan for the beats, by the way, too.
Yeah, he needs to start starting guys in his fantasy lineup for me to give him all that credit. We'll see you. No, Jordan's the man with the beats. See you.